Welcome back to another edition of Friday Financial. Today we're joined by Hillary Nichols, who is our loss mitigation manager here at MHV. Hillary, welcome on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Hillary, you've done some podcasts with us in the past. So happy to have you here on Friday Financial for a real quick talk about debt, and specifically debt consolidation and how it's different than debt relief programs, because I think a lot of times people tend to confuse the two and think they're interchangeable, but they're definitely not. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So debt consolidation in general is obviously the act of combining more than one debt, multiple debts. A debt consolidation loan, you typically, you're consolidating debt by taking out a new loan or a credit line with the end goal of saving money in the long term, whether it's a short-term goal of, or saving money in the short term on a month-to-month basis with a lower monthly payment, or saving money in the longer term over an extended period of time because of a lower interest rate. But the debt consolidation loans are used to pay off your existing debts in full. And that can be done with, an actual debt consolidation loan, or, a 0% introductory rate credit card, or even using, if you're a homeowner, using equity that you might have in your home. But, in addition to saving you money, either short-term or long-term, it also simplifies the process of repaying these debts, right? Because you're paying one monthly payment to one creditor as opposed to multiple monthly payments to multiple creditors. So it creates fewer opportunities to miss payments too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's debt consolidation in terms of a loan.
Right.
The other flip side of that same coin is where the subject of debt consolidation gets touchy. And that's where debt management companies or debt relief programs come into play, and there are two very different things. So whereas the consolidation loan, replaces your existing debts with a new debt and pays them off, the program, debt management program, doesn't do that. It typically involves a third party company acting as a quote unquote middleman. And that middleman acts between a consumer and their creditors, trying to negotiate better terms, or settlements, lower interest rates, but there's no actual guarantee of success with them. And a lot of times companies like that will, they'll use tactics such as, withholding money from creditors in anticipation of offering them a lump sum settlement. But in fact, that does more damage to somebody's credit rating, because now they go past due, and consumers don't necessarily always realize that that's what's happening when they enter into these programs. These companies have them, they'll have you send a lump sum monthly payment to them for them to disperse to creditors or try to negotiate with creditors, and again, with no guarantee of approval in doing so. So I always tell consumers that are considering going through one of these programs or one of these companies to do your research, make sure you're dealing with a reputable company if you do go through one of these companies. But most importantly, remember that there's nothing that a debt consolidation company or management company can do with your creditors that you can't do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very risky, and just be aware of your credit and what's happening with your money when you're sending it to a third party each month.
So would it be fair to say, I would think from the individual's perspective, they just want it off their plate, right? Like, it's been a source of stress. They don't want to think about it. A third party, I'm done. They're going to take care of it for me. When in fact, the personal or the debt consolidation personal loan is probably an easier process, because you just apply for the loan, everything's paid off, and then you just make your loan payment. So it kind of seems counterintuitive, but it from what you're saying, it seems like it would be an easier process for the person to just do the consolidation loan.
It is, it's the same amount of responsibility, we'll say, to the consumer. Either way, you're sending one monthly payment as opposed to multiple. And a debt consolidation loan, you're more directly in control. You know exactly where your money is going. It's going directly to a creditor. It's not going to a middleman or a third party company before it gets to your creditors. there's just more control and oversight for a consumer with a debt consolidation loan than going through a third-party company.
Right, right. Now, Hillary, you mentioned that if you do go through that third-party relief program or relief company, it could actually end up hurting your score if they're making you further behind on payments. So let's look at the flip side of that, a debt consolidation loan. Again, it feels counterintuitive, right? Like, why I'm going to take out more debt to get myself out of debt, but it can, in the long term, actually really help your score. So just talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So you might see an initial drop in your credit score because of a new inquiry being out there, but inevitably it will improve your credit score, especially if the debts that you're paying off were in a derogatory status prior to taking out the debt consolidation loan. So although you might see an initial drop because of a new inquiry or a new account, it should recover pretty quickly once those old debts start being showed as paid off with the debt consolidation loan. And if your old debt was primarily credit card debt, which a lot of times is the case, and you keep those lines open after paying it down, which I'll get back to is risky, but if you do keep them open, your credit utilization improves, the percentage of available credit you have versus what you're actually using, and that's a huge factor in your credit score, along with payment history. So now you have these old debts paid off, all these accounts showing as paid in full. And if you maintain your monthly payments on your debt consolidation loan going forward in a timely manner, then your credit rating will just continue to improve. But to go back to what I said, if you do keep those credit cards open, be aware of the situation that you had been in and maintain your financial discipline and prevent yourself from falling into the same habits. So don't charge those cards up again. Once your credit score starts to improve, you'll start seeing solicitations and really attractive offers for new debt. And it's the same trap all over again. So you just have to be strong enough and have the financial discipline to not fall into that trap again. It's usually suggested when you do a debt consolidation loan to also participate in some type of debt or credit counseling that helps teach you those healthier financial habits to avoid falling into that trap again. But it's definitely something that would be beneficial to your credit rating in the long term.
Right. Last question, and I know you have mentioned this before, but I think it's important to mention it again here. Don't wait until you're so far behind on your payments that you're not going to get approved for any type of help, right?
Right. So your credit rating obviously still matters in getting approved for a debt consolidation loan. So you definitely don't want to wait. Once you find yourself struggling, it's time to look into your finances and see if you could benefit from a debt consolidation loan. Contact your creditors. There's so many resources out there online, on the internet for how, different tactics, or not, I won't call them tactics, different strategies for negotiating with your creditors and communicating with your creditors. But that is the most important thing, is staying on top of it and not falling into that hole. The deeper you fall, the more difficult it is to recover from, especially when it comes to your credit rating.
Yeah. And it happens to a lot of people. So
yes, absolutely. Super common.
Yeah.
Very common.
Be afraid. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today, Hillary. We appreciate it. Always good information from you.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.